All right. Well, good morning, JJ and Dylan, or afternoon out there on the East Coast. Thank you for you guys for being here today on the Cultural High podcast. I appreciate it. I know you guys are very busy. A lot of growth going on, not just, for you guys personally and your company. I know you guys have been growing, had the pleasure to be able to work with you over, the last 8 months and been a part of that. But also right now it's a little bit of a stressful time, and you guys are extremely busy with everything that's going on in your home state in Florida. You have SB 1676 that's going on out there that is effectively, with the language that's in that bill right now, if it doesn't get changed, it's going to pretty much wipe out the hemp industry there in Florida. And so I'm happy to have you guys on the show and to not only be able to, talk about some information and talk about this new hemp cannabinoid space, but also bring some light on the situation of what's going on in this space, specifically in Florida. In Florida, the hemp industry is worth over $13 billion annually. That's over $6 billion in wages that are paid out to well over 100,000 Floridians, and that's with this bill coming down, that economic impact would be huge. And I just want to give you guys the floor a little bit to speak on that, especially you, JJ. You've been in this, you have a doctorate, you're well versed in this space and can speak, to the safety and a lot of the concerns that some of these people are having on these cannabinoids, which it's not even grounded in anything. And sadly, these politicians are putting forth bills and stuff that they don't even themselves, and they even voiced it that, well, we don't know very much about this. Well, if you don't know, then maybe talk to the people that do know and come through with a bill that actually pushes the issues that are at hand of, safe products that are third-party lab tested, making sure everybody comes to a certain standard or regulatory standard. And then, with the age restrictions and the packaging, child-safe packaging, we're all for that. But talk about the other parts of the bill, if you would. And I'm just going to give you the floor, guys. Thanks for being here. And JJ, go ahead.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Bryce. So I've actually been to Tallahassee 3 times already. I'm going next week. I have a meeting with both sponsors of the bill. I am very well versed on what's going on, and I couldn't agree more with you. 99% of what's on that bill, we agree with. I think that there is a lack of understanding from the legislators on what synthetic actually means versus artificial. Mm-hmm. And there's a lack of understanding on how useful these hemp-derived cannabinoids are for not only the economy, for Floridians, but for patients like the cancer patients that testified in the committee and the lupus patients that testified in the committee. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been driving home when I speak to the bill sponsors and the committee members on sitting on the committees. I've spoken to the chairmen, the vice chairmen, and something that I like to use as an example is corn syrup, right? Corn syrup, they can mow a field of corn and they could squeeze the corn and produce very little corn syrup. But instead, what they do is they actually put that in a bioreactor, and they go through the very similar process to what we do when we make Delta 8 to make corn syrup at scale. Are people afraid of eating corn syrup? No. Aspirin, the same thing. Aspirin comes from a tree bark. It's not scalable to be able to give it to the masses if you just get the tree bark and extract that. So they put it through a synthetic process. It's not when I think people they're afraid of the word synthetic. It's a synthesis. Vitamin B12, vitamin C, aspirin. All these things are normal, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's a stigma for synthetics because of like spice, K2.
Yes, I was gonna say that's it right there.
I like to distinguish that those are artificial. Those are man-made, mm-hmm. right? They're not naturally occurring. You can't find them on hemp plants. You can't find them, on a cocoa plant, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that I've used to when I speak with the legislators, and this is where it is helpful to have my background, right? I think for them, I can empathize with them, talking to lobbyists all day. You hear the same thing, right?
Very redundant.
Hearing from somebody that's not only a stakeholder, but has the background and understanding in this, I think has made an impact. So
yeah, you definitely bring a better perspective. You're not just some guy that owns a company that's worried about his pocketbook at the end of the day, And that's how sometimes a lot of these come across, but you have the knowledge and the resources to prove it, and the education and the understanding to bring that light. So you said you agree with 99% of the bill.
Yeah.
So what's the part that you don't agree with? Is it just on the synthetics? Is it also with the
There's parts of the bill that I don't agree with. One,
probably can guess what they are.
One, of course, it's the language of the synthetics. How they define synthetics is an issue, right? Two, it's the serving size cap and the package limits, right? Because of how they have that written, it basically eliminates vapes. Has anybody ever eaten a vape? No. You can't eat a vape. You can't eat an available. You can't eat a pre-roll. I mean, some crazy people have done that. But that's not normal, right?
Yeah.
And then three, if you look at the bottom of the bill, it specifically excludes MMTCs. Yep. So medical marijuana treatment centers. So I hate monopolies. It's anti-Republican. Okay? And it basically is saying, okay, so Robinson says there's 2 lanes, right? I want to clearly define the hemp lane and the cannabis lane. Well, you're just moving this lane from the hemp side and giving it to the cannabis businesses. So how is that Republican? I mean, you're taking away, like you said, hundreds of thousands of jobs. You're taking away from small businesses, which is what built the American economy, and it's what built, Florida. Ron DeSantis said, hey, we're open to business, took that seriously, and here we are.
Yep. No, that did happen. A lot of people moved their businesses, specifically in this industry, out to Florida, whether that was their fulfillment centers, their warehouses, operations. So, I mean, on our side, like I said, I've had the pleasure to be able to work with you guys, being the COO of the Standard, and we did kind of move all of our eggs into one basket, being into the state of Florida now, because of every business that all the parts of our manufacturing process and everything are now done in Florida, with you at Arvida, and then with our edibles at another company. Well, if this was to go into place, that takes us out, and we have to look at other places. And I'm just one company that, there's hundreds of companies that this affects. And like you said, the hundreds of thousands of jobs that it affects. The people that are writing this really don't have an understanding. You were talking about, the difference between an edible and a vape and stuff, that milligram percentage that they're talking about, where on a hemp extract, it can't exceed 0.5 milligrams total cannabinoids.
Yeah.
Like, speak on that. Wouldn't that take out full spectrum CBD, which isn't psychoactive?
It would. And I've seen, so Robinson actually has an amendment. So, and he pushed that in the last committee. So it's no longer 0.5. Now it's 5 milligrams, right?
But that's 5 milligrams in a total, like right here, I have a jar of gummies, so I can only have 5 milligrams total in the whole jar.
5 milligrams per serving, and I think
per serving, okay.
Yeah, 50 milligrams per jar. But that still eliminates.
It's still half of what it normally is.
It doesn't make sense. I can tell you this, I'm not going to make any accusations. I don't know where this came from, but it is quite ironic that it's the same exact bill that was introduced in Virginia and a handful of other states that have the MMTCs dominating those states. Another thing that I talked about was Florida loses about $30 million a year regulating medical marijuana. They get $400 million a year in tax revenue from our industry. So it makes no sense to me. I'm all for protecting the children, the child packaging 21 plus. We do those things, right? We
already do that. That's what you're supposed to do that.
We do more testing than the cannabis industry did. The cannabis industry, up until a year ago, they were allowed to self-report, right? We can't self-report. I think the big issue, man, is this industry hasn't been organized, right? Cannabis has been organized. There's big players that are spending a lot of money lobbying and getting done what they need to get done. We do have bad players in this industry. You are one of the great players. You say, if you have HHCP in there, you say you have 5 milligrams on your 5% on your package. You have 5% on your package. We have a lot of players saying liquid diamonds. That's not possible.
It's not possible.
Okay? It's not. Okay. we have this THCJD, THCX. I mean,
Yeah.
like I've had to step into a role where I have to be vocal about this, and I'm working with the associations, and we're trying to form an association, kind of like UL certificate, right? You see, every light bulb has a UL certificate.
Yes.
We're working on forming an association called the American Delta Association. Okay. We're going to put those stamps on packages to distros to be able to determine who a good player is and who a bad player is.
I like that. Kind of like in cannabis, like the clean green or the clean green cert and stuff for organic grows, or even ACS is doing their ACS certified lab, testing results and stuff. I like that a lot.
Correct.
That's it. We need that. We need that.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we desperately need that. And it's funny. I'm in this group chat with these guys, and we're all talking about. Everyone's like, yeah. So when are we going to stop these fake cannabinoids? And everyone's like, well, we've all done it. I'm like, yeah, everyone's done it, but we have to stop. Like, I think this bill, 1475 and the Senate bill, they have definitely opened everyone's eyes, because Florida's the #1 market for these hemp-derived cannabinoids.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy out there. You said fake cannabinoids. What are some of those fake cannabinoids?
THCX,
JD,
Delta 11. No one has that. I mean, it's a byproduct of Delta 8, but like, don't say that you have it. 11 hydroxy. You can't do that yet, unless it's like you found out a way to basically remove all the catalysts, which is very, very difficult to do. So there's these things that people are claiming that they have that they don't have.
Yes.
That's one that gets under my skin. It's like, okay, liquid diamonds, let me check the COA. It's all Delta 8.
It drives me insane, man.
10%.
Especially as it does. Especially being a brand that's trying to, same thing as, you guys' in-house brand, Mellow Fellow, being true to what you say you are, and when you put these when you put these other rare cannabinoids that are real cannabinoids, like you're saying HHCP or THCP, or when you're putting these in, when we actually say 5%, that's what it is, and it costs more to do those as well. And then, you're looking at somebody that's like, I have 8 cannabinoids in my product and everything. And you're like, how the heck did you afford that to sell it? And that's an even different conversation when that's just it's a race to the bottom with watered down ingredients with some of these guys. And it's frustrating, but that whole thing, if you said actually what they put in their product, we need to hold them accountable for that. I was part of my other job with our retail stores that we have. I was looking at some new products that distro was trying to sell us. And part of it was new Delta 8 products. I won't say the brand or anything, but this brand was advertising this new blend of like, a ton of different like 8 cannabinoids or whatever. And I pulled up their COA, and they had also this THCJD, they had THCX and everything. When I started looking at it, I'm like, okay, you say you have 8 cannabinoids. First of all, on the COA, there's only 7 that are showing. Okay. So there's a lie. Out of these 7 that are showing, only 4 of them are actually what's on your label. And then the rest of them aren't even on your label. And it's just nothing. And it was just, when looking at it, it's like, wow, this is just a crap product. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's just Delta 8, but it's all these, oh man, the consumers deserve something better at the end of the day. And that's how I feel as a business person, is that the consumers deserve something better, but also a safe product. And like, you should know what you're ingesting at the end of the day, right? And you should know the benefits of it or the risks of it, and you should actually maybe know the effects of it. And you said all these new fake cannabinoids, like what does THCX do to me? What does THCJD do to me? And also with all these new things coming out, that's in my mind, like I love being a part of the frontier. I love the pushing it, but at the same time, what's the risks associated with all these new things? There's not there's studies that have been done on cannabis and regular Delta 9 THC and stuff. And as long as,
we safety study. So we did a safety study, and that's one of the things that I pitched to this legislators. One of their concerns was, oh, well, people are doing these reactions, and what are the chemicals left in there? We're concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commodity at this point, Bryce. You know that. I mean, we're in the industry, right?
Yep.
There aren't that many labs left doing this. So right now, it's basically been consolidated into a handful, all working together to fulfill the needs for all the brands, right? The margins that most labs work at are under 10%. No one is going to be making this in a garage, in a bucket, leaving chemicals in there, making 10% margins. Like, if you want to talk about 2 years ago, yeah, I can see that, because Delta 8 was going for $3,000. People can mix hydrochloric acid and CBD in a bucket and distill that. They literally can do that, and that can get someone sick. Where we are now, it's not there anymore. People, the labs have gotten sophisticated. I mean, we've all put in millions of dollars into our facilities. And I think that's why there needs to be an organization that vets these labs, puts a stamp of approval on their oil, and we just all need to share SOPs. We all need to share our knowledge. We all need to hold each other accountable. That's one thing that the legislators mentioned to me that they wanted, that we hadn't done. And I agree with them. We hadn't done that. One thing about the industry too is that there are a lot of people that are just doing this for a cash grab, right?
Yep.
And there's so many benefits. I mean, we have but we've scaled up new cannabinoids that were discovered 100 years ago, and these studies that come up are showing the benefits of having all of these blended together. The blends do work better. They do, 100%. There's a study that showed that CBD, people think CBD and Delta-9, that CBD dulls the effect of Delta-9, but it doesn't. It actually enhances it. And there's a study that just came out about that. A lot of the blends that I formulated for Mellow Fellow all come from studies. I look at the PK values, which is the binding affinity of how well it binds to your receptors in your body, right? That's how I do my formulations. That's how we do formulations at Arvida Labs. We take it from a science perspective. So we did a safety study for HHC. I did it with another lab in Colorado. We used a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company to conduct the study, so we can have some validity to that. It's an FDA-approved lab. They produce pharmaceuticals, and what we found was that we did a heart study, we did a lung cell study, and we did a liver study. In the liver study, it was less toxic than your over-the-counter allergy medication. Okay, and we use that as a control because we know that the allergy med Allegra is over-the-counter. We know that it can be toxic to your liver. If you take large quantities of it. Hemp-derived cannabinoids were not. Okay. In the lung cell, we also saw that it was less toxic than this antipsychotic med. So what are you going to tell me about that? On the cardiac study, what you look at is like, can this cause, to not get too technical, can this cause basically tachycardia? So like, an irregular fast heartbeat. That's what you look at when you do these pharmaceutical studies. And we came to the conclusion that it does not. It's way safer than 99% of the products that are out on the market right now. So, that was something else that I used with the legislator. So how are you going to tell me that this isn't safe when I'm telling you here's my background, this is what I'm doing. And, one of the things that the legislator said was that they were following what the FDA studies were saying. And I said, what FDA studies?
Exactly. What FDA studies?
There aren't any.
There's none being done on these products at all.
There aren't any. The only thing that the FDA had was they posted something about, the warnings about the chemicals that can be left over, and, the same talking points that everyone's using. And listen, I believe that we should have agencies like the FDA or the European Medical Association. Like, we need that. And they're going to post warnings to the public on things that they don't know. And it's because of prohibition, because this has been illegal for so long, that we don't have these studies. But I can tell you from the studies that have come out and the studies that are being done, it's way safer than 99% of what's being consumed right now.
That says a lot, man. That says a lot. And, that's also with a lot of things that are FDA approved.
Correct.
As well.
Correct.
As well.
I mean,
do you think that's...
What do you say?
No, go ahead, Dylan. Go ahead.
Well, I drew a study that all the dyes that are in our foods that are FDA approved are actually like, red dye 5, like yellow dye 40, like all these chemicals that would be our population. It's terrible for us too.
Yeah, but those are accepted.
Exactly. So how can you say that these cannabinoids are dangerous when you're already feeding the American population stuff that's actually proven to be detrimental to your health?
This,
I mean, at the end of the
this is where, Bryce, this is where getting involved in politics these last couple weeks have really opened my eyes to, what really runs America, what really runs our government. And I'll say it, we all know it. It's corporations, man. It's money.
Yep.
It's we live in a capitalistic society. It's all driven by money, and the people that manufacture these chemicals have great lobbyists, and they have great lobbying efforts. In Europe, these chemicals, the red dyes, what you're talking about, they're banned.
Yeah.
They're not accepted, and they still make Lucky Charms, and they still make fucking Cocoa Puffs and those things that have those dyes, but they do it with natural products.
And they're still it's good and are significantly better for you, which is.
I have a conspiracy that they do that to boost healthcare revenue because it causes it.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Oh
man! Now we're gonna get into conspiracies. That's even. I believe it. If you look at the food, the way the food has changed just over the last 100 years, and then look at the health problems that have risen up with that, it's a direct correlation, 100%, with obesity and heart attacks, diabetes, everything, and then just look at what we eat. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. So I want to know more. I want to know more. I want the people to know more. This industry. So 2018 hemp farm bill came out. All of these new products started launching. That was when we first saw Delta 8 on the market shortly after. And then you started seeing the different HHC and Delta 10, THCv, stuff that has been around for a while, just not used. The stuff, like you said, was discovered over 100 years ago, and sometimes on some of these cannabinoids, but just because of the stigmatism against cannabis, and it just hasn't been studied. Psychedelics have honestly been studied more than cannabis has ever been studied, and the benefits of cannabis. So now you guys are producing, and in my opinion, the best lab in the nation. I refuse to work with anybody else. So that's just my personal opinion. But you guys have done amazing things with these cannabinoids, isolating them, making sure that they are completely clean. And then also, you came up with the process to make completely compliant oil. And for those people that don't understand what that means, like completely free of Delta 9 THC. So you can make Delta 8 completely compliant, HHC, PHC, CBD. And that's really good to be able to get it into different markets. But I'd like to know on layman's terms. I'm pretty sure you can give us the complete technical terms, JJ, but not everybody always understands those. And so on a couple of these cannabinoids, like how do you grow a field of hemp, right?
Yeah.
And then where's it go from there?
So
how do you get to Delta 8 and THCP and MeO-THC?
So after you grow the hemp, you go through an extraction process, right? You grow the hemp, you dry it, you extract it. You can use multiple different kinds of solvents, right? Mm-hmm. Some people use CO2, some people use ethanol, some people use hexane. There's all these different kinds of ways to extract it. This is normal. This is done in a million other industries. This is normal in agriculture. From there, you get what's called crude, right? The crude is basically the extract of the hemp plant. That crude has a bunch of cannabinoids in there. This is where Delta 8 is naturally found. This is where HHC is naturally found, because hemp, the way that biomass is extracted, it's actually like grinded up. So the stems, the leaves, the flower, the seeds, all those
everything, full plant,
everything. So HHC is found naturally in seeds. Delta 8 is found naturally in the hemp flower. CBDM, which is where MeO-THC comes from, is found also naturally in flower, but it's in very low concentrations, right?
Right.
We've bred the CBD and bred the THC to only produce CBD for the most part, or only produce Delta 9 for the most part. And I think that's why there's such little amounts in there of like the Delta 8 and Delta 10, all those things. So going back,
because of the breeding.
Correct. Because of the breeding. Okay. So going back to the crude, there's a bunch of different cannabinoids in there. From there, you distill the crude into distillate, CBD distillate. From the CBD distillate, you isolate the CBD out, right? So you'll mix that with the solvent, and then that's where you form the white CBD crystalline powder. Once you have that, then you can take that and put that in a reactor, and based on the solvents and the catalyst that you use, you can create Delta 9, Delta 10, Delta 8, Delta 6. and then from there you can further go into HHC, THCM,
H4CBD,
H4CBD,
CBD,
which is PHC,
which is THC.
Yep.
I mean, there's over 120 cannabinoids in the hemp plant, so you can get really deep with it.
Yeah, you can get deep with it. And then as far as like just the like making compliant, like what's difficult about that is Delta 9 and Delta 8, when you're looking at it from a testing standpoint, they're so similar that it's hard to separate them, right? Some labs are going to say that it's Delta 9. Some labs are going to say it's, plus, minus, or cis and trans Delta 8.
I've experienced that.
It's up in the air, like I think when it comes to testing, an analytical chemist makes assumptions, right? No one is perfect. The labs aren't perfect. We're using instruments that need to be constantly replaced and constantly serviced. So I would say that there's certain processes that we can do that cause degradation, and that would basically eliminate if there is any Delta 9, or if there is, whether it's Delta 9 or trans or cis Delta 8 or iso THC or exo THC, whatever is in there, you can degrade that and make a compliant COA pretty much at any lab.
Okay. I'm going to go back to something you had said before of how a lot of people don't realize that CBD actually, amplifies Delta 9 effects, and of how the cannabinoids actually work better when they're not just isolated by themselves, and we actually put them in a purpose-driven blend. Something that I brought up when I was listening to the live stream that was going on in the first hearing over this bill was a company that was talking, and I don't remember what the company was called, but they were speaking of their chain of stores. They said they had over 1,200 people on their loyalty program, and out of those 1,200, 400 of them used to be medical marijuana patients in the state of Florida. But that they had given up their medical marijuana card for one reason was access. They didn't have good enough access to the care that they needed as far as like the medicine that they needed. Two, just the products that were available. They just didn't like the products that were available to them to consume for their needs. And then 3, they just didn't get the benefits from it that they were looking for a medical product. But now they switched over to Delta 8 hemp products and full spectrum CBD products, and they're actually seeing more medical benefit than just going strictly to your MMJ clinic. And I look at that, and you brought up something interesting about breeding, of how now our plants are either bred one of two ways. It's either they're going to produce a lot of Delta 9 THC, or they're going to produce a lot of CBD. We've lost that harmonious effect that cannabis gives you of everything, because you need everything working together to give you that benefit and that relief that you're seeking. With that being all said, it almost makes me, and what's your opinion? I almost feel that depending on the company and what they're doing and what their blends are, companies like Mellow Fellow, companies like The Standard, that not only we're putting just THC into our products, but we're putting these other minor cannabinoids that have actual benefits for the human body. I would almost sometimes argue that some of these hemp products might be more of a medical I can't make claims, but of a medical benefit to someone that's seeking relief. If they're not just seeking to get high, it might give them some more relief. What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with you. I mean, and that's why we formulate these blends. That's why JJ formulates these blends, is because we're trying to have a more synergistic effect. Nobody wants to smoke just one cannabinoid, really. Like I really enjoy, more than, let's say I had a rosin pen. I prefer to smoke the Mellow Fellow blends because I feel more of a synergistic effect with it. I don't get as high necessarily, but I feel the benefits of, either ingesting it in an edible form or smoking it. When you have multiple cannabinoids, these cannabinoids do make a difference in the body. Like, CBG, CBN, like CBN is a great cannabinoid for sleep.
It is.
THCv is a great appetite suppressant. These cannabinoids have actual study medical benefits, and when you put them all together in a blend, the effects, you could truly notice the difference.
Yeah. I was talking to one of the representatives about this specific thing, actually, and when you go to an MMTC or an MMJ dispensary, for the most part, all you find are just concentrated Delta 9 products.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. That's it.
It doesn't work for everybody.
No.
Mm-mm.
For some people, for a lot of people, I can tell you my first experience with Delta 9, my heart was racing. I had crazy anxiety. I couldn't sleep. I didn't get that when I tried Delta 8 for the first time. I just knocked out like a baby,
Yeah.
the stories that we hear from the customer feedback is probably our favorite thing about having a brand.
Yes.
We've gotten handwritten letters from customers saying how this has helped them with pain, with their anxiety, with their lupus, with their nausea, going through chemo. You don't have the same high, and people want that. There's a space for Delta 8. And this is why when people are like, JJ, are you worried about what's going on in all these states? And I'm like, honestly, the industry is so large and the demand is there. What we have that's very different from the big cannabis corporations, we have grassroots support. Okay. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are flooding the phone lines. And they're not just like our companies. They're like people that actually consume these products, saying, hey, senators, hey, representatives, vote no, consider, changing this, do this. And I can tell you that, in Tennessee, we have a great bill. Kentucky, we have a great bill. Alabama, we have a great bill. And these bills are codifying our industry into law, and the more states that get on board with that, the bigger this industry is going to get, and the more we can offer these products to these people, and the more studies that are going to come out. I'm excited. I mean, we've developed some new cannabinoids. I think these are a little bit different because I would consider these really synthetic. They're not naturally occurring, but these would help and target specific ailments for treatment. It's like Marinol, right? Marinol is synthetic Delta 9. It's a little bit different, right? And cancer patients use it for chemo-induced nausea, right? So we've developed some things that can really, really help with inflammation, arthritic pain. One of my buddy's labs developed cannabinoid which is crazy to me. They had a 70% reduction in tumor size for pancreatic tumors, for pancreatic cancer.
Really?
Matter of 4 weeks.
That's what pharmaceutical does that?
This is it's actually the of HHC. Oh yeah, what pharmaceutical?
That's what I'm saying. What pharmaceutical does that?
Nothing.
That's always been my thing of why they don't want cannabis on a mainstream. It's just big pharma. Like if cannabis as a plant, with what you guys are doing, synthesizing, isolating, all the different parts of it, it replaces so much.
Yeah. I mean, the pain industry, man, it's a $1 trillion industry. I mean, you look at the whole opioid epidemic and companies making money hands over fist.
I used to be a part of. I was when I got out of the military, I was a part of that. They got my standard script. They said, "Here you go, have a nice day," and cannabis completely took that away for me. Cannabis, and then I've experimented with psychedelics and had a healing path with psychedelics to remnant some of my mental issues that I had going on to help me into my new chapter of life. But cannabis has been my day. It's been my daily medicine. I've been, and I'm a supporter of it, an advocate for it. And it's been my daily medicine for going on 12 years now, ever since I got out of the military. When I was deployed, I got what's called Gulf War syndrome. It's just IBS. Yeah, there's over 20,000 recorded veterans that have gotten it from going overseas to the Middle East, and it's just really bad IBS, and you're just stuck with the rest of your life. But cannabis has fixed that. I take a little bit in the morning. I'm not smoking to get high or anything. It's just for relief, and I can literally feel my insides, my intestines calm down, not be so inflamed, and then speaking to these, as I went through, CBD or CBN was my first, I would say, alternate cannabinoid that I fell in love with outside of, Delta 9. And that was back in 2017 when I first came across CBN, was working with a guy that had a background in pharmaceuticals, and he was doing extracts and stuff. And he's a genius on his own right. And he was isolating CBN and making CBN carts. And I slept so good for the first time in like 8 years. I'd slept so good. And it was just like, wow, where has this been at? Like, this is crazy. By the way, I'd been prescribed every sleeping medication you could think of, and it didn't do anything for me except sometimes make my night terrors and stuff worse, and then hangovers the next day. And CBN just cured all that, And as we've been able to now getting into this industry and actually being able to formulate blends, having the having the opportunity to work with people like yourself and JJ and actually create purpose-driven blends for people and describe, telling you, okay, I want this to do this for someone. If they intake this, I want them to have this kind of relief. And we're able to accomplish that. And then hear the results from people. It's beautiful, man. And that we're providing something, and this industry is given access where it wasn't accessible, there's still a lot of our country that does not have accessible to legal marijuana, and they have to get it through other ways, and that's not the best way to get it because you're not having the access to the medicine that you need. But now we're giving people the choice of different products, drinks, tinctures, edibles, vapes, smokables, salves, whatever they need, and they can get it in any state that they live in now.
That are frequently lab tested. Because the moment the moment you get rid of the space, let's say you're a legislator and you get rid of the space, when is banning anything ever led to it being eliminated? There's always going to be a necessity for it. So regardless if these lawmakers ban it or not, if they do ban it, it's just going to create this unregulated, dangerous space for people who want to get these products.
We saw what happened with that.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that because that's another point that I've used when I spoke to the legislators. If you look at what happened in New York, okay?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
New York's a perfect example. People were selling Delta 8. New York was one of our biggest states. We were selling a ton of Delta 8. We were selling a ton of HHC, and then they banned it, right? And what happened? Every bodega, every store started selling unregulated, illegal Delta 9.
Yep.
Untested products. It's just
under the counter,
and then for every store that the cops raided, 3 stores right next to it opened. So it just went out of control, and everyone said, "Fuck this," and we're gonna do what we want anyways. It's not gonna go away. It's not gonna go away. It's not gonna go away. It's too big. So either they get smart and they make money and they tax it, or it just goes into the underground market.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that whole other entity of, the war on drugs that wants to keep their paychecks coming in, and so that's why they're lobbying against us. But I mean, it's just so ridiculous and so stupid. And that's exactly the risk. I mean, think back, what was it, 2015? 2015 and 16 when we had there was it was making national news over in California, Oregon, Washington with the acetated carts, people's lungs almost exploding and stuff and just getting deathly sick and people even dying from it. It was from these black market, if you will, carts, unregulated products, and that's the same thing that's going to happen again.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you look at the whole E-Valley thing, right? With that's what it's called. It's like the electronic something. I don't know. I don't remember what it stands for, but it's called E-Valley, right? Electronic vape, something lung injuries. Yes, electronic vape. I don't know. Anyways, those cases have gone down significantly since Delta 8 came to the market, and I'll tell you why. People were cutting Delta 9, which is expensive, with vitamin E acetate, right?
Yep.
So the minute that Delta 8 came out, it became so cheap that they're like, you know what, we're just going to mix it with Delta 8. And you saw everything going down. So it's why open that door? You can't put the genie back in the bottle, And
there's been so much of an industry built around this. I mean, not just in Florida, but nationwide. It makes so much money. There's so many companies that are multi-million-dollar companies now doing millions of dollars of revenue a month, and all around this space. It'd be stupid to compare.
And we're to see it flood into international markets too.
Yes.
So we've had Bryce.
Just don't speak too much out of it, bro.
that there's a lot of potential internationally. I mean, South is opening up. You have Europe, Southeast Asia,
Yep.
markets that have been, haven't had access to cannabis in years because the government's banned it, and now they see these alternative cannabinoids come up, and people want it, man. And there's definitely demand. There's definitely demand for it, and
they want it everywhere. So in the last year, I've had the pleasure to be all across the states. I've traveled across Europe, and in those meetings, I've met people from pretty much every continent. I have now. I've right now sitting here business cards and people I've talked to this week. This week I've talked to somebody in New Zealand, someone in Australia, someone in Guam, someone in Puerto Rico, 5 different countries in Europe, South Africa, and the Middle East. Now, are all of those places available for these products yet? No. But the cool thing is that there's a lot of people pushing for this. There's, like I said, the Middle East. I won't say the countries, but like I was talking with the guy. I was like, man, are you sure you want to talk about this stuff? Like you might lose your head, bro. Like this isn't a joke, but people are pushing for it. Worldwide, people want cannabis. That's it. Worldwide, people want access to cannabis. And it's amazing to be part of that push and on that frontier and to be part of it with you guys. It's amazing. And, you know, we're here for the support. We were right there with you guys calling in. We had our entire sales staff, our entire company was calling into the legislators and senators and just, you know, letting our voice be heard, not even from a business standpoint. We had several people that were calling in, just voicing that's what I did. Just told them the benefits that it's had for me and the effect and of how it's changed my life and changed my family's life. And it's not something that should go away. So thank you guys for speaking on that today and letting your voice be heard. And we're going to do our best to get this live here soon. So that way, maybe it can have a little bit of an impact for people that hear it. And thank you for pushing what you do here in the hemp space and always being on the frontier of it and having that dedication to quality as well. I know that from working with you guys. I'll even go ahead and say it. There's people that you have refused to work with because of your dedication to quality, and that speaks volumes. And you know, when you're willing to deny business that might bring you a lot of money just because of your character and your values and your morals, that's the type of people that, you know, that we need leading this space and being our voices. So thank you for doing that. Of course. But yeah, I'm interested to see where this is all going to go. I'll keep contact with you guys, and you guys are sure going to be going back up to Tallahassee here soon. And so we'll keep supporting and keep listening and keep our fingers crossed and see where this goes. Do we have any timeline on this?
Yes. So Wednesday is going to be the next committee hearing. It's the second committee in the House. You know, we're feeling pretty positive about it. We do know that it will pass in the Senate. The Senate, there's no chance that it won't pass in the Senate. And I do know that the sponsors are going to be working together to make an amendment that is something that the industry can stand behind. That's okay. What I know.
Okay. Well, we'll keep watching for that then and wait to see what. I mean, after this though, we're all sitting here waiting as well. I mean, the new the federal hemp farm bill is even changing this year, you know, and we won't even know the language on that until the summer, and then it's supposed to get passed in September. So it is a big year.
I've heard good things.
I have too. Yep.
It's all been positive. You know, I think this, like I said earlier, this is a wake-up call for the industry. We need support from people like us, from people like you, from people that aren't doing this just for a quick cash grab. Like we have our whole families working with us. We're supporting friends. We're, you know, putting out quality product to people that need this to continue the lobbying efforts. Georgia got adjourned, you know, but that doesn't mean that it's over. That means that we need to get a bill sponsor, and we need to pass a bill similar to Tennessee, similar to Alabama, similar to Kentucky, hopefully similar to Florida, you know, where we can go and say and use this as precedent to say, hey, this is what we battled with. We understand. We're neighbors. You know, we understand how you guys feel, but you know, if we can do it, you know, you can do it too. And here's why. Here's the reasoning. Here's the rationale. Here are the studies. So that's the plan, man. You know, just keep pushing through and keep advocating for our industry. And we need people like this, and we need podcasts like this to talk about it, and you know, hopefully educate the public and educate the players. And you know, we've got to do a better job at calling out the bad ones.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I know it doesn't make it. You know, that's the thing in this space is too many people just are stabbing each other in the back. Like I had mentioned, it's that race to the bottom of watered down products, and you know, nobody's working. There's not enough people actually working together to make this progressive and make it beneficial. This is a huge market, tons of for money's sake. There's money to be made for everybody everywhere, you know. But if we can all just work together a little bit more and call out the bad ones, the people that are putting a bad stamp on this industry, and honestly get them gone, you know, either get them gone or make them, you know, change their ways and make them come up to standard. And definitely for that.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Brand can ruin it for us all. I mean, it
can.
One brand
really can
ruin it. So we definitely got to hold each other accountable more often.
Yeah. I mean, one bad lawsuit, if there was some, I mean, how bad would it be and detrimental for you guys if all of a sudden somebody came with a lawsuit against, you know, a brand or something there in Florida while this is all going on? And that would be terrible, especially if they were claiming some detrimental health effects and stuff. And that is possible with these unregulated products and with these companies not adhering to a standard. So we definitely need that. I know you guys are busy here.
I will say this. Luckily, like you said, when you look at the COAs with all this fake crap in it, it's just mainly Delta 8. You know?
Yes, yeah.
Delta 8.
Yep.
I think more than anything, we just need honest marketing. You know, you don't have to put a bunch of fake cannabinoids. Use your brand, use your reputation, use your integrity, your quality, you know, and your packaging and everything, just like any other industry.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
Spend marketing dollars, go do podcasts, do pop-ups, get stores, build a sales team, you know, be a normal business.
Yeah. Do put in the work to get the success, you know, not just throw vegetable soup on your label and say I'm better than everybody else. Oh man. Well, you guys, good talking to you guys today. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon. I mean, I'm always bugging Dylan every week. So I'm sure he's tired of me by now, but keep on bugging him.
I thoroughly enjoy our conversation.
Good. Well, thank you guys again. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. All right.
The opinions expressed on this CannabisRadio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast, republication, or retransmission of this program without proper consent is prohibited.